All right. All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our session on how to use collaboration to co-create value with ITIL version 4. Yeah, this ITIL released recently, and we have Marcel and Jorge with us is going to talk about the collaboration and how to co-create value with the new version of the ITIL. Marcel and Jorge is the expert on this ITIL and master instructors. That's why I will hand it over to Marcel first to introduce himself and tell us what you are going to talk about it today.
Yeah, thank you, Christine. Good morning, good afternoon, maybe good evening. I don't know where you are located, but I'm located in Europe, in the Netherlands. Welcome to this session. My name is Marcel Voederer. I'm a master trainer within a company called ITpreneurs. Our core business is creating courseware solutions. And looking to ITIL4, I'm one of the architects in the Excelos team of designing ITIL4. So if you have complaints about ITIL4, you can also blame me, actually. But yeah, I'm looking forward to guide you through a couple of key topics from ITIL4. Yeah, actually, collaboration is all over the place in ITIL4. It is also in the core of ITIL4, which I'm going to explain later. But yeah, that's a little bit about me. Jorge?
I was too fast. Sorry, Jorge?
Yeah, I was mute. Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Jorge Blanco. I am the education director and managing partner of Gloomy Networks, a business partner of ITpreneurs. I've been working with ITIL since 2006 when I started with version 2, and I hold most of the certifications from versions 2, 3, and 4. I've been delivering training in the 3 versions since 2006, and I'm also participating in the creation of the educational material from ITpreneur and the translation into Spanish. I'm located in Mexico, so here we are in our rain season in summer. We have big hail storms and thunderstorms here with water floods and all that stuff caused by big storms, and so the temperature is not that high now because of the rain.
This is good compared to North America because we have the high temperatures. Thank you, Jorge.
Now reverse that. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's reversed.
I'm pleased to be here with you.
Yes, thank you. All right, shall we start?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, starting with the core model of ITIL4 that is shown in this slide. This slide, we call that the service value system. And when you look at that service value system, you can look at it as the business model of service management. And a business model is normally showing the key components that you need to take into account to run your business. And you can compare that with the service value system in ITIL. So actually, this model shows very briefly what kind of key components you should take into account to transform any opportunity or demand on the left-hand side into valuable outcomes on the right-hand side. And the key components are guiding principles, governance, the service value chain, the practices, and continual improvement. And actually, the red line across all the components is the co-creation of value on the right-hand side. Co-creation with the customer, but not only with the customer, but also with all other key stakeholders. And when you are going to utilize these key components in the SVS, in the service value system, the guiding principles, governance, the service value chain, the practices, and continual improvement, the collaboration element is all over the place across all the different components in the service value system. And a couple of them, we are going to talk a little bit more about it. Next slide, please. So I already mentioned that nowadays, or no, let me start explaining it in another way. In the early days, you had a service provider that initially was having a chat or a conversation with the customer. And then the service provider started to create the solution based on the chats that he was having with the customer. And then after a while, they released a product that the service provider was thinking, yeah, that should be according to the expectations and the requirements from the customer. But actually, over time, the customer changed their minds, the situation changed over time, the conditions changed. So actually, the service provider deployed a product that was not 100% aligned with the current expectations and requirements from the customer. Actually, that was often realized via what we now call a waterfall approach. Nowadays, organizations are working not according to a waterfall approach, but more according to a more agile approach in shorter iterations, where when you work very closely together, for example, also with the consumer and the customer. And it's really important to stay tuned across the whole project with the customer, because over time their ideas are changing. But when you work according to Agile, you are much more flexible. Agile means flexibility, right? So working according Agile, you are much more flexible than you work in the older days following a waterfall approach. But you need to create the desired value desired by the customer together with the customer. And not only with the customer, also with the other key stakeholders, like external providers, suppliers, your internal staff. So you should start first with identifying who are the key stakeholders and get them on board of the initiative and make them a part of the solution. If you don't make the different stakeholders a part of the solution, then at the end of the day, they become a part of the problem. And to change that negative situation into something positive requires much more energy and much more effort and time and also money. So if you involve the key stakeholders already from the beginning, the chance that you are able to realize a successful outcome is much higher. Next slide, please. So I mentioned that already. What kind of stakeholders do you need to take into account? Do you need to involve to bring the journey to a successful result? And a couple of those stakeholders are shown in these slides, but this is not the stakeholders mentioned in this slide is not having the intention to be 100% complete. We only listed a couple of them, but that's also what you normally do in your private situation. When you have a big initiative, a big idea with big impact for the whole family, I assume that all of you are going to discuss it with all the family members that are going to be impacted by your idea to increase the chance that everybody is going to accept that idea and initiative. You should follow the same approach in your professional life. Consider who are the key stakeholders, take them into account and make them a part of the journey, like the service consumer, the employees working for the service providers, but also the managers, the owners, and where possible, also other types of stakeholders. For example, shareholders or regulators or communities or whatever. Take them into account and make them a part of the solution to realize successful outcomes together, the co-creation of value. Next slide, please. And also you should realize who are the key players in making a successful result. And in this slide, we see a chain of different organizations actually forming together key components of a service chain. We call this a service relationship model. And you should realize, where am I in this model and what kind of responsibilities and roles do I have? So for example, organization A is a service provider for organization B. But organization B is a consumer for organization A, the services provided by organization A. But at the same time, organization B is also providing services to organization C. So organization B is actually having two different roles, a consumer role for organization A and a provider role for organization C. The same story for organization C and for organization D is when that's the last element, the last part of the chain, then the organization D is fulfilling, let's say, the service consumer role. But you should realize what kind of entities am I involving in what I try to accomplish in creating a new service, for example, and involve all these different entities, realize that the chain is as strong as the weakest link. So you should involve every organization as a key partner, take them serious, talk with them, look each other into the eyes, talk with them instead of talking about each other, listen to each other, right? And respect each other and take each other serious in making these things possible. And invest on I always use the term emotional banking account. In a normal relationship, you always have an emotional banking account. You know, when you just start a new relationship, for me, it's a long time ago, but I'm married this year for 35 years. But I still remember when I just met my wife, I invested on her emotional banking account by, for example, making sure that I arrive on the appointment that I had with her on time. And in the beginning, I brought flowers or small presents. Actually, not only in the beginning, still, I once in a while need to make an investment on her emotional banking account, right? We all make investments and also once in a while withdrawals from our partner's emotional banking account. So you should realize, especially males, when you made some withdrawals, that you need to buy flowers again. So maybe it's time for you, Jorge, to buy flowers for you. But okay.
I should invite my husband to this seminar.
I'm not saying that you need to buy flowers for your customers. No. You know, the key message is make sure that you know what they expect, take them serious, and invest in the relationship. Right?
Yeah.
Next slide, please.
Yeah, I just want to comment that I like this slide very much also, you know, like it's similar to food chain we talk, but also the key is here, if you have a weakest link here somewhere in this chain, exactly. It doesn't matter how strong the other part of the chain, you see?
Exactly.
It will break.
It will break. The chain is as strong as the weakest link.
Exactly.
Yeah, so every organization or every representative from the different organizations, they should realize the importance of an open and honest conversation and relationship and collaboration and trust each other.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Yeah, and also one of the key components in the ITIL SVS that I just mentioned is the ITIL guiding principles. Yeah, all these guiding principles are all over the place and you should take them into account all the time. But there is one very specifically focused on collaboration, and that's the one on the upper right corner, collaborate and promote visibility. Can you go to the next slide, please?
Sure.
So collaborate and promote visibility, especially ITIL4 is also a fan of modern way of working. ITIL4 is aligned with the modern ways of working, like Agile and DevOps and whatever, and Scrum. And we are going to promote removing silos as much as possible. Removing silos means that people are working in vertical organized departments or organizational units. And every unit has to achieve their own objectives. And the primary focus of each department is keeping their own garden green. They are not focused on what is happening in their neighbor department or other units. Removing silos means actually try to think organizing your organization around products and services and build teams around that product and service. Isn't it weird when you look at how organizations are organized? The way that they are organized is, for most of them, not around the products and services and the reason that they exist. They exist because they deliver valuable products and services, but they are organized along or according to different types of activities or geographies or branches. They are not organized around these products. And that's strange, isn't it?
Yeah.
So the more and more organizations, they realize this item, this challenge, and they are considering moving from the traditionally siloed way of organizing organizations into, you can call it DevOps teams or business system teams, whatever you want to call it. Organized teams around products and services. And then everybody is maybe also physically located closely together. At least you have very short communication lines, clear responsibilities across the whole team, and high level of commitment. And they people in working in the team, they trust each other. And trust is also very key, essential to make a team successful. And they also use the motto, fail fast, fail often. And as long as you learn from the mistakes that you made, you get better, right? And that should be promoted and not punished. When you are punished, when you make mistakes, that's a very toxic organization, right? Yeah. So yeah, an open and trustworthy organization. And also many organizations are working according processes, but a process actually is having a limited objective. An incident management process is having the objective to restore the service as quickly as possible. Problem management is trying to look for the structural cause. Change management wants to reduce the risk that something goes wrong in the older days. But actually, they all have a limited focus. So with a process, organizations try to align the work that should happen across the different departments. But by using a process, you actually implement a horizontal silo. A department is a vertical silo, but implementing a process across different departments is a horizontal silo. And that's also the reason why ITIL4 is also using a value stream approach. And the value stream is a logical set of steps in a logical order to deliver valuable outcomes for the customer. That is what the real value is. And you should go through the steps together to be able to realize those valuable outcomes. Next slide, please.
Yes, it's so true, I have to say. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I can talk for hours about this topic.
Yes.
So here are some key aspects to take into consideration. From the early start already, I mentioned that actually you should identify who are the key players in this initiative. Who should I involve and getting them on board? So identify whom to collaborate with. Make every key of every stakeholder a part of the solution, right? What happens back home in your private situation if you are not involving your family members and you accepted a new job in a totally different country, right? You thought, yeah, this is interesting. The job is interesting. My salary, I don't have to pay taxes anymore because the work is in Saudi Arabia. I'm not sure if every family member is automatically accepting that new job offer, right? So you need to involve them to get them on board of the initiative and communicate, 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 right? And communication means not only talking. I think Jorge is also going to mention that listening is equally important, right? Realize that there is a reason that human beings are having 2 ears and only 1 mouth. It means listening is even more important than talking. Okay. And make the work visible, right? That's also a way of communication. Many companies, they use a Kanban board to make the work that needs to be done visible and guide the work through a specific process of to do, doing, and done in the most simple way. But that is, everybody is looking at the Kanban board during the daily stand-up, for example, and discuss the progress and the issue. So making things visible on a whiteboard or on a flip chart or on a Kanban board, it doesn't matter, is also one way of increasing the level of collaboration. And I think the next slide is for Jorge. Oh, no. So this is another example of identifying different stakeholders, aligned with the topic that I already mentioned. This is just meant as an example what kind of different stakeholders you need to take into account. For sure, customers. Make the customer a part of the solution, right? They are going to use your output, and the moment that they start using your output, they should be able to realize the outcomes that they are looking for. And the outcomes, that is the value that your customer is looking for. Not the product, right? No, the way your customer is going to use your product, you should realize that that will deliver value. So you should work together also with your customer to know exactly how your customer is going to use your product or what exactly he is looking for. So ask more questions to your customer. Dear customer, to give me a better picture, what are you going to do with it? What is your goal that you want to achieve? Right? Ask open questions, not closed questions, open questions. Normally they start with a W in English. So who, what, when, where, what else, these kind of questions.
Yeah.
Right? And also other examples of other stakeholders, developers, of course, make them a part of the solution, external suppliers, your colleagues, and of course, relationship managers. But this looks like an octopus, but with only 5 legs. But I can imagine that you can add more legs than 8 in making the stakeholders a part of the solution.
Definitely depending on the organization is the regulatory bodies, the sponsors, and there is a bunch of, but what you are saying, the communication and collaboration is the key, really.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Everything. Oh, this
Next
is
slide
great.
then.
Yes. Thanks, Marcel. Now I think on this, Jorge wants to talk more about it.
Okay, I chose this picture on purpose because when we are forming a team, we bring people from different cultures, different beliefs, different behaviors, and we want to put them together to achieve a common goal. So that's what a team means. So, but let's explain the difference between collaboration and cooperation, because that difference would make us correct the mistakes and try to work towards collaboration more than cooperation. Because in collaboration, you work with someone to produce or create something. So it's a practice for individuals to work together for achieving a common shared goal or objective. This is the key of the definition of collaboration. In case of cooperation, you work towards your personal objectives and in the way you may achieve a common goal. So here in cooperation, you achieve your goals, and it may happen that you achieve the goals of the team. So that's why people sometimes say that they prefer to work as individuals, because they don't like to work as a team. Because in cooperation, everybody does what they are supposed to do. So if something is needed to do and that's not part of your role, you don't do it. And that way the customer loses. So you need to work towards a common goal. Even if it's, that missing part is not part of your role, you need to take it. And then you clean the laundry at home and don't show the customer your dirt. So that's the main difference. We have done several workshops in which we put people to work as individuals in cooperation mode or in collaboration mode to show them why cooperation is thought it is collaboration, and that's not. When you work in cooperation, you are selfish, individualistic, just working together, but to achieve your goals first and then the goals of the team. Next one, please.
Yeah, but it's so true, and thank you for clarifying this. That's yeah, on collaboration, you collaborate.
In performance, in the performance of a team working in cooperation is lower. That's why if you put together a team for any sport, and if you bring just a lot of stars and every star is doing their best, sometimes they are defeated by a weaker team in which they work in collaboration. So the strong team working in cooperation loses against the weak team working collaboratively. So that is why it's more powerful. The synergic gain in collaboration is bigger. 1 + 1 is 4, 5, 6 in collaboration. In collaboration. In cooperation, 1 + 1 sometimes means 0.
So, yeah, it may not produce to what you are looking as end result. Yes, it is quite true. Thank you.
Then the people go back to work individualistic because they say that they don't work in team.
Yeah.
Yeah, because of that misunderstanding.
Yeah, they are just a group of people. Yeah.
This is a comparison 1-to-1 between collaboration and cooperation. Towards shared goal, silo working, integrated goals, aligned work goals. That's why the team is defeated, because they have an aligned goal to win the game, but everybody tried to accomplish their individual specific goals. So, and that's why as a team, they are not summing their skills. And the other is everyone succeeds or fails together, and here individuals and teams succeed or fail independently. So if they are losing the match, who was responsible? Who they will blame? Because somebody maybe did not what it was expected from that specific player. And that they succeed or fail together, they win or lose the game together.
So Jorge, you are touching a Dutch trauma now, because the Dutch team just lost in the European Championships.
Oh, really?
The soccer team, yeah.
Because individually it are very good players, but was it a real team? Were they willing to fight for and with each other?
Yeah. Yeah.
That was the issue. That was the issue, right?
Yeah, everyone was star on their, specific knowledge area, but they didn't collaborate.
That happened also to the Brazilian team, because they stopped being the team everybody wanted to defeat, because they became a bunch of stars playing alone in different countries, different for different teams, and they are put together just very close to the championship. Exactly. And they try to behave the best of their own goals.
Yeah.
And if you want to put it worse, they are playing to gain more bonuses from their sponsors before winning the cup for their team and for their country. Yeah. Oh, no. I'm still in that. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you need respect, trust, and transparency. And in order to defeat or to work around that lack of trust, according to Patrick Lencioni's five dysfunctions of a team, you need to be humble. You need to show you vulnerable. And this way, there is less need for trust and transparency because everybody feels they are the best on their position, on their role. And they are not subject to failure. They try to cover their failures because they will be seen as weak. Here there is a multi-channel communication, and here they need effective communication, not necessarily multi-channel. In this way, yes, they do. Especially now in the pandemic. In the pandemic, we have remote teams everywhere. We are challenging collaboration with the remote teams because we are not working together in the same location, sometimes in the same cubicle. We are working from different countries everywhere, at different time zones, different cultures. So that's why collaboration is more important. It will make you stronger instead of cooperation. And here, everybody needs to understand how they contribute to the big picture. This is a must. And here, everyone needs to understand their own role in order to achieve their role objectives. And here, they need to understand the pestle. Pestle are the external factors you are not in control, but you need to manage them, which is political, economical, social, technological, legal, and environmental factors. Those are external. Here for all the stakeholders, and here just for your own role. That's why you fail as a team. Next one, please.
Yeah, so true. Thank you.
And here, whom to collaborate with, that was already mentioned by Marcel. You have multiple stakeholders and you need to work with that transparency and trying to achieve common goals, because if it's me against them, you all fail.
Sorry.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
So what are the characteristics of collaborative relationships? Okay, all stakeholders need to adapt and adjust their individual goals. To what? To a shared goal. The shared goal is over or is on top of individual goals. They need to listen, Marcel already said that, and appreciative inquiry skills. So listening is so important, and they need to understand their differences. That's why they need to have appreciative inquiry. The transparency and openness and honest communication. They need to have feedback, yes, but constructive, not destructive. And if you are in a blame culture, you will be doing destructive feedback, just to blame someone and trying to find who is guilty, not to find what is the problem. That's why in lean culture, you tackle the problem, not the person. Even if that was a mistake done by a person, it was a process failure because there were no training, no documentation. It was not fail-proof, that process. So you need to solve that, improving the process and making and being sure that the people gets the proper training. So the people is not guilty. The processes are the ones that are not good in place with all the proper measures like training, fail-safe measures, security controls, and they need to meet commitments. All stakeholders understand the prioritization or any change in priorities and what's the rationale for that change. That's why they need to negotiate and have constant communication. And they need to understand the shared outcomes, and all the roles and responsibilities should be defined for each team in order to get their shared outcomes and how those outcomes contribute to the success of the organization, not the success of my own role.
Yeah.
Next one. And then we will end, if we have effective communication and we are very good collaborating with each other, we will be getting or arriving to a collective thinking mode in which we have respect, trust, and transparency with everybody, even internal team members and the stakeholders, part of the shared goal. Everyone is contributing to the big picture, not only the managers, not only the supervisors, everybody has a voice and vote. They are working together toward a shared goal. We are repeating all the time shared goals. And multi-channel communication, we always mentioned that. And everything is, the goal and the resources are aligned, but in real time. That's why working Agile, we are doing adjustments every iteration. We don't have long-term in deliveries. We have short deliveries in agreed time periods. And everyone succeeds or fails. That's important, together.
Yeah, yeah. This is.
And then how you move to this collective thinking? How do you make a change? You need to do a cultural change. How can it be done? Next one. You need to understand this pyramid, because sometimes management, or most of the time, wants to correct actions to get the right results. Because if you are doing the same stuff, you will be getting the same results. That's the definition of insanity. Is the one who wants to doing the same actions and try to get different results. But there is a slice here, there is a cut. Because people will do what you are telling them to do, but when you see to other place, or you get out the room, people will do what they were used to do before, because they are not convinced. You need to work towards making their mindset change. And the only way to change their mindset, change their beliefs, you need to have them living experiences that challenge their beliefs. So once they have their paradigms challenged and they understand the difference, for example, if they are doing a workshop or a simulation in which they are challenged in collaboration, they will understand the importance of collaboration and why, if they work collaboratively, they will be getting better results than if they work cooperatively or individually. And once they change their beliefs, they will voluntarily start in doing actions towards the results. Once you do this change, going to the root cause, you will get the results you wanted. But they are self-convinced, self-aware of the importance of that change, because the actions are a reflect of the beliefs. So they will behave because they have some beliefs, some assumptions deep-rooted inside of everyone. Once you change you change them, or you challenge them to start in the process of self-convincing or self-awareness, they will start doing the actions needed. You tell them where do you want them to arrive, and they will do the actions needed. You don't need to tell them the actions. They will find out the right ones according to the new beliefs, the new assumptions, in order to achieve the results. You have self-empowered, self-managed, autonomous teams, but you need to work on the mentality.
Yeah, thank you, Jorge. It is quite true, because I mean, in the organization, of course, when we are talking about the organizational thinking, you know, for the stuff, not the personal beliefs or experiences, but when you empower them and challenge, and they start thinking their actions, they will reach it. Thank you. Now, actually, we will open the for the Q&A. We just show this for the information, if these are the sources we used. For the question and answer, actually, I have one question, and I mean, Marcel, you can, and Jorge, you can comment it. Well, ITIL was heavily on process. So what happened to version 4?
Actually, it's aligned with, let's say, the move to value streams. Processes are not completely gone, absolutely not.
Okay.
Processes are supporting the practices, and the practices are supporting the value stream. So you can look at it, let's say, on top of the cascade, we have the value streams, which is going to explain, let's say, the main steps that you need to do to deliver the valuable outcomes. So, for example, the main value stream of a hospital is welcoming the patient, treat the patient, and release the patient. But underneath those steps, it highly depends which practice you need to utilize. When a patient is welcomed in the hospital for heart problems, hopefully the hospital is going to utilize practices that are related to issues with the heart. But if you have issues with your leg, then also the patient goes through the same steps. But the practices that are utilized and applied during a similar step for somebody who's having a problem with his leg should be different from a patient that is having heart problems, right?
Yeah.
And hopefully the hospital is applying these steps. And also the process is still important, but it has a limited objective. It delivers only a part of the value that the customer is looking for. The customer is not only interested in an organization that is able to solve the incidents quickly or to implement changes successfully. No, it's about the whole picture. It's delivering the overall value that the customer is looking for, right? So it's much the most important question is the broader question. So what is the end result that the customer is looking for which you need also to put the right incident management in place and problem management in place. But even more important is that you do the right activities right.
Yes,
in the right order and correctly.
That was the okay. Yeah, it makes sense. I see as like a layer, value added
Value
layer
streams
added.
on top, and the practices. And the practices is the next step in the evolution of processes. The practices are based on another core ingredient of ITIL4 that we call the 4 dimensions: value streams and processes, organization and people, information and technology, and partners and suppliers. These 4 ingredients are aligned with another principle called the holistic approach. Just like another Dutch example, the houses in Amsterdam are built on wooden pillars. And for those of you who have been in Amsterdam, I'm sure that you noticed some houses in the old part of Amsterdam were falling over, right? So maybe they did not put enough of these pillars into the ground before they start building the house. So you can use this metaphor also. You should take the 4 dimensions into account to build a solid and reliable environment for the value streams and the practices for them to be able to deliver the required value.
Yeah, thank you. Jorge, do you want to say something?
Going back to the same example of the hospital, it is not the same, or there are not the same practices if you are going through an emergency room because you arrive in an ambulance because you have a heart arrest. And it's not the same if you have a programmed surgery using your medical insurance, so that you plan the surgery in advance, you schedule that, the appointment, the surgeon calls for the hospital to be ready, send everything, and then even the value stream as a big picture is the same. The practices will be different at the moment.
Exactly.
When you,
Exactly.
Oh, okay, thank you. I received some other questions. One of them is what are some techniques you would recommend to enhance collaboration within remote teams? You know, now we are all remote.
Remote teams is a little bit more difficult, but really practical tips is leave the cameras on, look each other into the eyes as much as possible. Try to stay out of a blaming culture, but help each other. Everybody is dealing with the same type of difficulties. Invest in each other's needs and be interested in each other, really interested. Show interest in each other in a healthy way, not for the sake of, it's important, I need to ask questions how you are doing, but you should be really interested in it.
Yes.
It's about the small things, right?
Yeah.
Also the personal things.
Yes,
pay
I think
attention to the personal situation that your colleague who is sitting in a totally different country or maybe in another continent, but show real interest in what you normally do in your normal private life.
Yeah.
Apply the same practices in virtually.
Yes, I think that participant who asked this question came later because you talk about the emotional banking. Yeah, because just giving them the tool is actually, it's not going to help. You need to this one-on-one connection, whether remote or not.
Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you, Jorge.
Also make them live experiences like business simulations. For example, in the case of ITIL, Mars Lander, in the case of DevOps, the Phoenix Project, or Just Collaboration, Aramis, for example, those workshops make them work in situations close to reality in which they need to solve together the issues and arrive to a common goal. Also in the daily work, rotate the assignments, let them make decisions together, work on small projects together to avoid having isolated team members. Also, I recommend you to read a book called Tribal Leadership, in which they explore the ways subcultures work in organizations, how every people goes into a tribal evolution according to 5 stages the authors define. Tribal leadership. You can find it on Amazon.
Yeah, thank you. I remembered. Yes, it's a good book. Okay, the other next question is, what is the difference between end users and customers?
Let me answer that question. Hopefully, customers are going to pay the invoice, and users are going to use the service. End users, right? But an customer can also be an end user, can be a combined role, right? Normally, a customer is represented by a human being. He is putting his signature under the contract. For example, he is making the decision to buy your product or service. That's a customer. He is also going to pay the invoice, hopefully.
Yes.
But on the other hand, the moment that he starts using the service that he just bought, then he's also playing the role of an end user. So one human being can play different roles.
Oh, okay, yes, because he's using the system end user. If there is a product doesn't use the system, it just stays as a customer. Otherwise, who is serving internally, we call it end user, because using this internal system to serve the customers. Yeah. Okay, I hope we clarified. I'll go to the next question. How does ITIL help minimize the total cost of ownership for IT investments? Yeah,
ITIL itself doesn't help there, but it provides you guidance to improve the overall efficiency and effectiveness of service management. Actually, not only service management, also software development and project management and risk management. By making steps in thinking in value streams, thinking in value streams really helps to optimize the flow. And when you look at value streams, there is a very good technique borrowed from Lean, also mentioned in the ITIL books, that's called value stream mapping. Value stream mapping is identifying what are the steps that are adding value across the whole flow. What are the steps that are not delivering value? What are the steps that are not delivering value, but we need to do it because of laws and regulations or compliance reasons? Now, those activities that are not delivering value and you don't need them for compliance purposes are candidates to eliminate. So you can imagine, hopefully, if you identified a couple of steps that you currently are doing in your organization, but nobody can explain why you are doing this and what the value is of this step. Now, the only reason is, yeah, I'm doing this because I'm used to do it for over the last 15 years. Now, that are candidates to eliminate. And the more non-value added activities you are able to eliminate, the less steps you have to do, the less time you need to invest, the less resources you need to invest, the more the flow is going through from the beginning until the end, the more efficient and effective you are going to be, which will have a positive impact on the total cost of ownership, of course.
Yeah, no, thank you, Jorge.
Yes, you cannot eliminate just for the sake of eliminating waste. You need to consider the bottlenecks. That's part of the theory of constraints. Yeah. You need to look for the bottlenecks, because every optimization done prior to the bottleneck put the bottleneck in a worse situation, because you are sending more flow and the bottleneck is stopping the flow. And every optimization done after the bottleneck is a waste, because you will never realize that optimization, because the bottleneck is stopping the flow anyway. You need to look for the bottlenecks and improve them first. Then there will pop up other bottlenecks and you go that. That's a systemic vision. I recommend you to read the book called The Goal from Goldratt. Yeah. It's still current, even if it was written in 1984. And so that way you will be eliminating waste, but wisely. So, and the other is, there was a saying that there are two stoppers for business performance, M&Ms, but not the candy. M&Ms are meetings and managers. If you put so many layers of management, and if you put so much or so many meetings, the meetings are a waste if you are not doing them when they are needed and time boxed.
Yeah.
So meetings and managers are a blocker. M&Ms.
Okay. Yes. Actually, I agree. Because the management concept should be changed, but it may take some time. But we have last question. Thanks, Leslie. In a very traditional or hierarchical organization where communication is often top-down with little room for feedback, how do we encourage collaboration? This is, I have this issue. Yes, who wants to take on?
Yeah, this feels like an organization where management applies a directive management style, right? With only sending information, not open for feedback. They think they have all the knowledge and experience. Those organizations will not win the game. They will lose the game. Absolutely. Culture in an organization, the right culture, an open, trustworthy culture where people feel safe and feel safe to make mistakes. In other words, more and more organizations, they require a servant or facilitative leadership style where leaders actually, when you look at the management position in modern in traditional organizations, then you have the managers, they are more or less on top of the organization. But in more modern organizations, managers should, the employees working in organizations, they are not waiting for managers to tell them what to do. They perfectly know what to do and how to do it. They don't need managers to tell them what to do. right? They have the right experience, they have the right knowledge, they are the best equipped to know exactly what to do and when to do it and how to do it. They don't need those directive managers.
Oh, no, that's
so those modern management, they should position themselves not above the employees, but underneath it to facilitate the teams to excel. So what is it that the team needs? What do you need, guys? Where can I help? Where can I help you even becoming better? What are the bottlenecks? How can I help you solve the things that you need or that you experience? That's another management style.
yeah.
Very different from the older traditional hierarchical organizations, where when you put your head above the horizon, then your head is cut off, right? That is very toxic. And you know what's going to happen next? Everybody remains quiet and silent.
Yep.
They all know what should be what should happen, but they are not going to mention it because it's hurting their career.
Yeah.
That is really toxic and really bad and really sad.
Unfortunately, and probably it will take some time for those organizations to come to sense. But yeah,
but for that, you also can take the 8 steps of Kotter into account, right? That's the normal logical steps for organizational change. It's really an organizational change journey where the importance of taking the people on board of that journey, or the employees on board of the journey, is often underestimated. You know, when you look at the number of digital transformations or DevOps transformation journeys, 75%, based on an analysis from Gartner and Forrester, 75% of those digital or DevOps transformation initiatives, they fail because they used not the right management style and leadership style.
Definitely.
And they take the human and the cultural aspects not serious enough. They think it's a technical journey. We need to buy a tool, implement the tool, and send some people to a technical training course, and that's it.
Yeah, to automate this.
Exactly.
Not working processes. Automate.
But that's only 20% of the whole journey.
Exactly. Thank you, Jorge. You are mute.
Yeah, Christine can share with you the link to that Forrester study, which for the people who attended this webinar, because it's very interesting, because that a number that Marcel shared with you is backed by a Forrester research.
I can actually update the references. I can add it over there and share when we share the recording. I can share, which is true.
And just to finish and as a wrap up, you need to empower the people to be accountable of what they are doing. So you need to be I recommend you to read the Johnson & Johnson collaborative learning studies, in which they define the traits you need for collaboration from the personal point of view. And the PICS phases is the acronym, in which you have positive interdependence, you have individual accountability. So in the old model, the manager is accountable, but when his head is in trouble, he will cut the head of someone reporting to him. So you need to have individual accountability, and that's something. Allow the people to make their decisions and to take on the risks. It's a fail-safe environment, but make people accountable of their decisions and empower them to choose the house. You tell them where, and they choose how they get there. Yeah, that was it, because we are on time and I don't want to go over.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you very much, all. I mean, it was great. I'd love to hear you guys, and probably we'll continue later on during fall and the winter sessions as well. But I just want to tell the participants that actually, as part of Akuna's thank you, we are giving 3 months free access to our Elite Agilist membership environment, community for all the Agilists, you know, wants to get more information. This will also, I will share with you with the recording. That's why you can, you know, access it, look at it, and give us a feedback. It is neat, very good site. You will see the information. But otherwise, thank you very much all. It is, thank you, Jorge. Thank you, Marcel, joining. And
Thank you for inviting
my
us.
pleasure. My pleasure.
Yeah, good evening. Thank you, guys. Bye for now.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Yes.
Stop recording.
Where is, yeah.